3/4 in 112, and now the field is in the stretch, and it is Get Smokin', Decorated Invader is asked for more, No Word moves through down on the inside, and here's Domestic Spending on the outside, along with Colonel Aleum, so it's wide open here. It is Domestic Spending. Domestic Spending has the lead in deep stretch, late run on the outside from Gufo. Domestic Spending held on.
Welcome back to another edition of the Racing Rundown here on YouTube. I'm Eric DeCoster. In this edition, we will be previewing the Grade 1 Belmont Derby Invitational. Very strong group. This is a Breeders' Cup Turf winning you're in. All 3-year-olds, obviously. And a very strong group, I think, has been assembled here. Nine 3-year-olds, colts and geldings, who I think all are graded stakes level. Certainly, there are some that are better than others. I don't really know how much of this deserves a Breeders' Cup winning you're in tag, but nevertheless, we are here, and it is going to be a fun race no matter what. Very competitive group. So we will start with the No Word, one of a couple in here for Todd Pletcher. This is a colt coming off of a allowance win 2-back, and then last time out was third, beaten just a half length in the Saratoga Derby, a race we'll obviously reference a lot in this group. That was a very strong effort. He's already ran a 1.25 miles. He is the exception in this group. Everyone else, the distance, the maximum distance on turf at least, for this group has been 1 3/16 miles for a couple of them. He's the only one that's ran 1.25 miles. And then on the grass, we have South Bend, who's ran 1.25 miles on the dirt, and then one that's ran above 1.25 miles. So very interesting kind of a group of horses in terms of distance. But he didn't run bad in his effort there. He was third behind older horses, though, so that was the excuse. And he did break kind of poorly, and he finished strongly. Things didn't necessarily set up too well for him, but he still ran credible. That third last time out was a strong run, but I do wonder if he was ever going to really beat Gufo or Domestic Spending. And then you obviously have your new horses in here who are going to try and challenge that top two from the Saratoga Derby. And for that reason, I'm just not on No Word here. 9-2. I don't think that's really good value on him either, because I just don't know how much of a chance he has at beating those horses. Nothing from that Saratoga Derby suggests he could have done something different to beat them, and nothing is suggesting he's going to improve enough to beat them. The 2 is Gufo. He was second, beaten just ahead in the Saratoga Derby, but being realistic, he probably was the best horse in the race. He shifted ground a couple times in the stretch, and that's certainly what caused him from the win, only beaten ahead though. Before that, a 4-race winning streak, including 2 stakes, the Grade 3 Kent, where he beat Pixelate. Pixelate, who we'll talk about later, came back to win a graded stakes. The horse who was third, Vanzi, is also a stakes winner. He's been facing very good horses, and he's been beating them. And like I said last time out, that mess he made in the stretch for himself did cost him the win, and he closed really well into the race. This extra 1/16 of a mile, being a mile, that race being 1 3/16 miles, this being 1.25 miles, that extra distance is certainly going to be to his benefit. And people know, if you follow our podcast that we do weekly, if you've watched our previews before, if you follow me on Twitter even, you know how much I love this horse, and definitely a little bit biased towards him, but also know he is immensely talented, and I certainly love him in this race. The 3 is Mo Ready, the other Todd Pletcher here. He is the big long shot, though, 30-1. Coming off an allowance win at Saratoga last time out, going 1 mile in State Bred company over, decent New York breds. It was a nice win, but obviously this is the toughest he's ever had to run against. His only other stakes effort he ran last winter in the Central Park on the grass at Aqueduct. He was 5th in that group out of 7 horses, so obviously, and well beaten by Pixelate, who won that race, is also, like I said, in this race. So he's been beaten by this level / worse before, and to even go 2-back, he was 5th in another New York bred allowance race on the grass behind much weaker than this. So I don't give him a big chance in here. Really don't understand why he's here. He's not necessarily a horse that could steal this one on the lead either. And he's not in here to set the pace for the other Pletcher horse. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He's a big long shot. The 4 is Domestic Spending, morning line favorite, 5-2, rightfully so. Coming off that Saratoga Derby win, and everyone knows Chad Brown. He's always a big threat on the grass, no matter where he is. 3 for 4 lifetime is Domestic Spending, this gelding by Kingman, one of the hottest sires over in Europe right now. And that Saratoga Derby win was nice, and I know I've already said I thought Gufo was best in the race, and I still will keep that thought. But Domestic Spending still ran a very good race to win. I think he was certainly second best on the day, if anything. And it was a nice ride by Irad Ortiz. Javier Castellano does get aboard as Irad Ortiz Jr. is out due to suspension / COVID positive. So he has a lot going on, so Castellano does pick up. But domestic spending, he's a very good horse in his own right. Two-back was a very fine third in the Hall of Fame stakes at Saratoga, that grade 2. And then his maiden and allowance wins, he actually beat two very strong horses throughout those fields. So he certainly has always been battle-tested. We can't knock him on who he's been facing. Distance-wise, he's going to like this extra 16th. I can confidently say that. And he has a win at Belmont to go along with the rest of his resume. So he is a very strong favorite in here. However, he is also 5-2, and looking at the rest of the morning line here, it's probably reasonable. And I don't know if Gaffo's going to take an overwhelming amount of money. I think he'll probably be around 3-1, 7-2. But if domestic spending really dips below, 2-1, 5-2 even, that is a little concerning. That's not providing a lot of value on a horse that I'm not confident even is going to win this race. 5 is South Bend, exits a last place finish in the Kentucky Derby, last 3 races on the dirt, but he has a lot of turf experience. He ran in 5 straight stakes on the grass at Gulfstream and Churchill Downs. No wins, but a couple placings, including in a grade 3 Palm Beach behind Vitality, a very nice colt. Many probably remember as a 2-year-old last year down at Gulfstream was where he was second there. He's also lost, though, to Decorated Invader and Field Pass in those grass races. So those are both 2 graded stakes winners in those groups as well that he's lost to. But also, he lost to Gaffo and Pixley before. He's finished behind them. So he's another one who's been consistently beaten by this level before. And you look at his, that Travers was a fine race. The Derby was on dirt. He ran last. He didn't have tongue go his way. So he's a pass for me. He has never really proven that he is an elite grass horse. This extra distance probably is not going to hinder him in any way, shape, or form, but don't necessarily think he has the talent in itself to win this. The 6 is Pixelate. He's certainly the most consistent horse in this race. He's ran 11 times. He's never missed the board, but he's also only won 3 times. So that is slightly concerning. Obviously, winner of the Del Mar Derby in his last start, that grade 2. Wasn't the toughest group in the world, but we've certainly seen deeper renditions of the Del Mar Derby, but it was a nice win, and he won it nonetheless. Before that, obviously, like I said, very consistent. So we've been hitting the boards behind good horses. Gaffo, I already said, Field Pass, Smooth Like Straight, Hieronymus, Bodie Cream. None of those horses are in there, those 4, but all 4 are graded stakes winners or graded stakes place in the last month or 2. So super strong form that he's been finishing behind consistently. And that is obviously concerning if you're looking for a win contender, but I, like I imagine everybody else, is definitely using this one underneath. He makes so much sense, and he obviously runs very well. He does have 1 run at Belmont, I might add. He ran in a listed race in October of last year. He was second, beaten just a neck, but nonetheless, it was a pretty decent group that he was against, and he only lost by a neck. So a stride or 2 goes his way, and he probably wins. So, like I said, very consistent, must use underneath no matter the price. But as a win contender, I'm not super convinced. The 7, Venezuelan Hug for Danny Gargan. This was a claim for Gargan out of a maiden claimer at Gulfstream that he lost, and then he's won 3 of his last 4. His only effort in stakes company. Very concerning, though. He didn't have the greatest of trips, but he still finished last, beaten 11 lengths in the Pennine Rage at Belmont this June, behind Decorated Invader and a couple weaker horses than this group, and that was concerning. Last time out, though, he did run very well, going a mile and an eighth in an allowance at Saratoga, won by 2.5 lengths, coming from last to first. I think this extra distance is going to do him well, and we already know he likes the grass, and the only run at Belmont was not good. Don't think that's a Belmont thing, though. I just think he got beat on the spot that day. So, well, as much as I want to pick this horse because he's done so many good things in the Gargan barn, and that last out win was very, very impressive, I'm also being realistic and realize that stakes effort was just so subpar. And I know I like some other horses in here just a little bit better. So Venezuelan Hug is a pass for me. However, if you are a big work tab person, you really rely on horses' works to guide your picks. Back-to-back bullets up at Saratoga. 3-back, he was 3rd best out of 34. So he's been working lights out. So that is a huge positive for this colt. The 8 Moon Over Miami for Belmont. He's won 2 of his last 3 on the grass. His loss came in the Hall of Fame Stakes, went 4th, only beaten 2 lengths behind Decorated Invader and Domestic Spending, who was 3rd in there. Last time out, took the Dueling Grounds Derby at Kentucky Downs. That was going a mile and 5/16, so he actually cuts back in distance for this race. Very interesting, but nonetheless, it is what he does. That wasn't a very deep group, but it was nonetheless an impressive win visually by the colt here. And then, like I said, he won an allowance race 3 back at Churchill. That was a very nice win as well. He's certainly interesting because that win last out indicates he probably just needed more ground, and that was certainly helpful to him, but he's also lost horses like Decorated Invader, who would have fit in very well with a couple of the top contenders in this race. He's lost a weaker before on the grass, so that's probably my biggest concern, is that he did win very nicely visually last time out, but he also didn't beat much, and when he's faced this level, he has struggled. But from the pure perspective of visually and knowing he's going to relish the more distance, he does make a little bit of sense. Also, another concern, Javier Castellano was aboard for that win last out. He does hop off for domestic spending, a horse he's never ridden before, instead of the horse he won a stakes on last time out. So that's always slightly concerning. And the 9, A Journey to Freedom, last horse in the race for Mike Maker. This is a colt that was actually, or gelding, who was claimed out of his last race, claimed out from Del Mar from the Peter Miller barn. This is a horse who's actually multiple stakes placed out in California in races like the Alcatraz up at Golden Gate behind a very solid colt from the Dick Mandela barn, and the Oceanside, that restricted race on opening day every year. He was behind Hit the Road, who's a very good horse, as well as Canderel again. But then he regressed in the La Jolla 2 starts ago, beaten almost 10 lengths, finished second to last. He did go very wide throughout, but he was overmatched no matter what. Last time out in an optional claimer, he was in for a tag, lost by less than a length, finishing second. It was a very strong run, but that's obviously much weaker company. Distance stretching out, I don't necessarily love it either because, his best races have been around a mile, and he's ran a mile in the 16th twice, and he ran good in one, bad in the other. Ran a mile in an 8th way earlier this year in the El Camino Real Derby. Didn't run too well there, and pedigree-wise, it just doesn't fit. I know Mike Maker is a wizard with these claims. He takes these high-level... he does not claim at the low level, that's for sure. He claims horses that are way out of form, and he turns them around just like that, makes them stakes winners because he knows how to identify the horses that fit his program and his turf route system that he has. This is one that I know he's trying to do it with. I just don't trust that he's going to. This horse is way off form. He's in way deep here, and I just don't like him at all. I imagine I'm not alone there. Going into the pace setup now, there is really a huge lack of speed in here. The 3 Mo Ready, I imagine, will default to the lead, but none of the horses in this race have ever really been on the lead, for purposefully. Therefore, it is a little bit puzzling, but I don't think Mo Ready's good enough by any means to take this group wire to wire. Domestic Spending is probably going to default to second, and then everybody's really just going to be bunched up. I don't think this is going to be a spread out race at all. I think it's going to be best horse wins, cleanest trip wins, and like I've alluded to, I think Defoe is the most likely winner. In addition to just being a personal favorite of mine, I think he's immensely talented. Extra 16th is going to do him great. And I think he is one of, if not the second best, grass 3-year-old in the country right now. Underneath, the horse I said is a must-use, Pixelate. Very consistent. No matter the price, he's going to be there late. And I think he's primed to run another big race. And, of course, I can't leave out the Chad Brown Domestic Spending for third. This race is a bit chalky. I won't lie. I don't think there's going to be any long shots here that make a whole lot of sense. The 8 Moon Over Miami is probably the one I'd like the most, and I think he'll probably float up because there are certainly things that are turnoffs on the form. And if he does float up, he is one you could use, but otherwise, overall, pretty chalky. 2, 6, 4, my top 3 in the Belmont Derby. At the end of the day, though, I'm just here to inform and help guide you guys and hopefully try and find you an angle that you might have not seen looking through the form the first time, and help you pick a winner or make some money at least. So that's all I have for you on this preview. We'll see you next time on the Racing Rundown.
Dominant Soul tries to pull off a big upset. Margot's Boy in second. Now Pixelate kicks it in, and Pixelate has every chance. California Kook and American Farmer. Furlong to go. It's Dominant Soul full out. Margot's Boy and Pixelate. It's Margot's Boy in front. Margot's Boy, Pixelate, one final surge. Pixelate coming, and Pixelate gets up to beat Margot's Boy.